Hello guys, so the outcomes of the today's class is how to configure Telnet for accessing the remote system. Alright, so remote system, once it is done, so what is the drawback with Telnet connection, right? Then how to overcome from Telnet problem, right? So these are the things which are going to see in the today's class. So now before going to start how to establish the Telnet connection, first we'll see that what is the need of implementing the Telnet remote connection operation. Suppose for example if you consider the system, right? For example this is your office, right? So your office somewhere in some other location, so there may be networking, right? It may be switches, router, something you will be having the network infrastructure, right? Now thing is that you are from remote location where you are working from through your office, so there is immediate requirement that we need to change some configuration or some configuration file related to your switches or router, whatever it may be. Now thing is that if you want to do modification here, now what you have to do is somehow you need to access the these switches or routers in the network, right? From your PC you are going to access this switch or router, right? So if you want to do configuration or management, whatever maybe you want to do, first we need to have something called as the authentication, right? So if you have the authentication, if authentication is success, then we can able to access this device, so that according to our requirement we can perform the modification operation, right? So here for authentication method, one type of authentication method is using the Telnet connection, another authentication method is using secure shell connection, right? By using this we are going to perform the authentication mechanism so that we can able to access the remote system, so that we can perform the configuration on the remote machine, right? So first we'll try to implement the Telnet connection for remote accessing, then we'll see what is the limitation, then finally we'll see what is the solution for Telnet problem, right? So for demonstration I have taken GNS3, then for example here I have taken the two switches, the whatever the command we are implementing on the switch, the same thing we can implemented on the routers also, right? So for a hacking purpose I'm going to take the Kali Linux also for demonstrating what is the limitation of the Telnet connection, right? So just let me give the connections quickly, right? Go to connections, then I'm connecting the interface Ethernet 0, then G0 by 0, from switch to switch I'm giving G0 by 1, right? So by default if you observe here, it is not showing the port level, so what is the interface of this port as well as this port, right? So if you want to see this, just click on view, alright, so then click on the show the grid, right? So if you want to see the show hide interface labels, right? So this is the G0 by 1 interface, this is also G0 by 1, this is the G0 by 0 interface, right? So first what we will do is we will open the console so that we can make the configurations, right? So likewise in switch 2 also we can make the configuration, right? So in my case it is already open, so I have switch 1 as well as the switch 2, correct? Switch 1 as well as the switch 2, right? So here in order to access the switch, if you understand here, so this is switch is nothing but the layer 2 mechanism which will work on the MAC address, right? But if you want to access this switch from the remote connection, I don't know what you have to do means we should have some IP address. So for that what we are going to do is we are going to create the virtual IP address, right? So if we create the virtual IP address, then we can able to connect remotely from our machine to the corresponding switch in the remote location by using of the Telnet connection, right? So for that just I am opening the terminal, right? So the following commands are we need to be right in order to so generate the Telnet connection, right? So first go to configuration mode, right? So if you want to see that what is the running configuration, right? So these are the running configuration in the particular switch, right? So if you read this, how many interfaces we have, then so what type of connections we have, everything we can see by running the show running configuration command, right? So now my intention is that, right? So for example we will give the name, right? If you want to give the name of the particular switch, then go to configuration mode. For going configuration mode we need to type the configure terminal, right? So if you want to change the name of the switch, then you just type the command host name switch 2, right? It may be any name, right? So see that earlier it is this L201, now it is become switch 2, right? Now what is the next step we have to do is for switch 2, now we will go back to the switch 1, right? So switch 1 also we need to do same thing, go to configuration mode, right? Then if you want to change the, just type the command host name, let it be this name is the switch 1, right? Just right, so here the command is host name space what is the name you want to give, right? It is changed, right? So now for example to access the switch, what we required the IP address for remote machine, right? So for that what we are going to means, by default if you see the configuration, everything which is related to the VLAN 1, right? So VLAN, so if you want to see that, right, let me show VLAN. So see that by default what is the VLAN number? VLAN 1. So all the interfaces are all the ports which are connected to the VLAN 1. So for that reason what we are going to do is we are going to assign the IP address to the VLAN 1. So right, go to configuration mode. What is the thing? Interface, which is the default VLAN 1, right? So we need to set the IP address. What is the IP address we can give? 192.168.1.2, right? So this is the IP address we are trying to give. This is 1.2 we are trying to give, right? 2. We need to give the subnet mask also, 255 dot something 255.255.0, right? So then we need to issue the command no shutdown command, right? So exit. Now configuration is completed. We have given the IP address for the switch 1, right? Now what we have to do is, once IP address is assigned, so which is used to access from your machine to the corresponding switch 1, right? So if you want to do the configuration, one way is that now what currently we are doing is we are going inside of the switch, then we are doing all this configuration. Now my requirement is that from somewhere my system 2 I need to connect it to remotely, so that whatever the operation now we are performing, I need to perform from my PC or Kali Linux machine, right? That is my requirement. So right, so for that what is the command we need to enter in order to create the telnet is, right? So first command is line vty02. It means what is the meaning of virtual terminal means, what is the first connection? 0, then we can enter up to 15, right? So here you can take 0 to 4, 0 to 15 means at a time 15. If you suppose if you enter 0 to 4 means 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 user at a time they can access the remote machine. If you enter 0 to 50 means 16 user can access the, right, the particular remote machine, 16 time at a connection, something like that, right? Right, now we need to give the password. If you want to access that particular remote machine, we need to have the authentication mechanism, right? So for that we are giving the password, let it be password is Cisco, right? So this password should be by default in login method, right? So in order to implement the telnet, we need to type 3 commands. One is virtual terminal, then we need to set the password and we should make it as the login, right? So then the exit, right? So if you want to see that, just type the show running configuration command. So if you come here, come down, so that we will see everything, right? So just come down, see that for interface VLAN 1 we have given this IP address, right? So once it is done, what are the changes we have done, right? We have given this, see that. So by default we have line VTY 0 to 4, this is old switches. Then again they have implemented up to 15 connections at a time. So then later on they didn't disturb any 0 to 4, again they have given line VTY 5 to 15 also. See that here we have the line connection, telnet we have implemented, password is Cisco, right? So this is also implemented, right? Now what is the IP address for this one? To access this switch 1, 192.168.1.2 is the IP address. So if you want to check, go to VLAN 1. So this is the IP address we have given, right? So for this system I have given 1.2, right? Now let me quickly start my Kali Linux machine, right? So from here I am going to connect it. So just now see that here the moment I just click on the Kali Linux, see that it is my virtual machine, right, which is running on the VMware workstation. So automatically my Kali Linux machine is booting, right? So see that. So here I am clicking on the live boot, so that my Kali Linux machine will be open, so that we can able to ping from the my Kali Linux machine to the GNS3 tool. This is a GNS3 rule, right? So meaning is that from here I'm going to communicate with this one, right? So my PC Kali Linux is somewhere. From here I need to change the configurations of the corresponding switch which is in the somewhere by using of the Telnet connection. Means if someone want to access from this PC to this switch, so first authentication should be performed. So for authentication, what the mechanism we have to implement? Telnet. What is the port number of Telnet? It is 22 port number. So here we have given the password mechanism, right? Those who enter this Cisco as password, then they will be able to connect to this one. So from their own system, they can able to configure the whatever they want, right? Instead of going to the switch directly, right? So that is what we are going to do exactly here, right? So let me open my Kali Linux machine. Still it is booting. We'll wait for some time. Now we will open our Kali Linux machine, right? It is turned on. So we will assign the IP address 192.168.1.1 on my VMware workstation, right? So just go to here settings, right? So go to settings. Once it is done, just click on network, then click on settings. So here we will assign the IPv4 address. So what is IP address? 192.168.1.1, right? Then subnet mask is 255.255.255.0, right? So then we'll enter a default gateway if you want, 192.168.1.100 something. So once it is done, right? Fine, here it's something wrong we have. Let me delete this one as well as this one also, right? So just tab subnet mask 255.255.255.0, then gateway is, if you have the router we can use the gateway, right? So in my case I don't require, right? So this is also done, right? Now just click on the terminal, right? So if you want to see that what is the IP address we have assigned, so see that it is not configured, right? So again we'll check one more time. See that 192.168.1.1. now first we will verify is there connectivity from my machine to the switch one, right? So what we will do is just we will use the ping command, right? So let me open my Kali Linux machine, right? So ping 192.168.1.2, right? Now see that it means we have the connectivity, right? Now here what we are going to do exactly, from my Kali Linux machine I am going to gain the access by using of the Telnet authentication method, right? So for that we need to use the command, right? Telnet, what is the destination IP address? 192.168.1.2, right? Now see that it is asking for the password, right? So what is the password we have given? Cisco, right? Now see that we are in the interface of the switch one, right? So this is how we are going to access, right, from my computer, from my machine to this corresponding switch or router. The configuration almost is same for the switch as well as the router, so that whatever the configuration you want to do, right, you don't need to go inside of the switch, directly you can do the configuration from your remote system, right? So this is the how we are going to establish the Telnet connection, right? So in the next class we will see what is the disadvantage of the establishing the Telnet connection as the remote establishment, right? Hello guys, welcome back. In previous class what we have seen is how to establish the Telnet connection, right? So this is we have done. So now what thing we are going to do is, so Telnet is not secure. The more secure way of performing the remote authentication method is the secure shell method, SSH method. So first we will see the what is the limitation of the Telnet method. So Telnet means it is not in the encrypted form. Encrypted form means, so if we somehow if we hack the information, right, so we can read the all the data, right? So for example, see, so in the last class what we have done, right? So we have inside of the switch, right? So just I'm going to perform the exit operation, right? So let me check, is there connectivity from 192.168.1.2. this is my, right? So switch IP address, right? Virtual IP address, we have the connectivity, right? So before going to see that, right, if you want to access this switch, now what we have to do here, we have, and right, we have given the telnet connection, right? So here we have entered the telnet connection, right? So if someone you want to access this switch, then we have provided the telnet connection as a remote authentication. So one who entered the correct password, they can connect with the switch, so that whatever the modification they can perform, right? So now see that, so now what will be happen, right? Somehow hack this, right, interface or whatever it may be, so we can able to read the all the information, right? So for that what we will do is, right, so this is the interface, right? We connected from our Kali Linux machine to switch, right? Just click on here, right? So click on here, just click on the start capture, so that, right, the tool will be open. So this is nothing but the Wireshark network analyzer tool. By using this we can read what is happening behind the scene, right? So if we can read anything, so for the time being just I am minimizing this one, right? Now what I'm going to do is, from my Kali Linux machine I'm going to establish the remote connection using the telnet method, right? So for that just I'm going back to my, right, so Kali Linux virtual machine. So this is one, so just I'm going to enter the command telnet. So what is the IP address where you want to connect, right? So command is telnet. So what is the IP address of that virtual switch? 192.168.1.2, right? Now see that what it is asking, Cisco password, we need to enter the password. But if you observe this password only knows me, right? But here what is happening, some unauthorized person, see, we are enter inside of the switch, right? So some another person, what he is doing means, through this interface he is trying to capture what is happening here, right? So the password which is known by only me as a person who is working in that particular company, but someone, he is reading that interface what is going on here, right? Now what is happening, by using Wireshark, right? So this packet analyzer, he is going to read that what is the information is going, right? As I discussed earlier, it is not the information in the encrypted format, it is in the format of the plain text. Plain text means whatever the information you are entering here, the same thing you can read this interface. From here interface you can read the entire information, we will see that, right? So here what we have done exactly, from our Kali Linux machine I have opened, I have connected remotely with my switch. Now I have the access with the my switch, right? Now see that, right? So let me again open Kali Linux machine. Now see that here what is the password I entered, some password I entered which knows by only me, right? Now I have captured this filter, right? Packet, sorry, this Wireshark machine, right? So here these are the things happen, right? So first what we will do is, just you check the TCP streams, right? Just TCP stream, just click on this packet, any packet. So just go to here, follow TCP stream, right? Now see that, see whatever the information that we are sending, everything in the plain text format. See that what is the password, the password you can read is Cisco, right? Earlier this password knows by only this particular user who is working the company, right? Now by just reading that interface, anybody can able to see that what is the conversation is happening, right? So because it is not in the encrypted format, it is in the plain text format, right? So this is how we can hack the network. So suppose if you want to perform any kind of operation from here, right? So for example, say he types something called as the enable or whatever it may be, he is going to type something, right? Now what is happening means, the moment I go to my packet analyzer, right? So Wireshark, so again if I use the TCP connection, right? So TCP connection, right? So if you open any packet, whatever it may be, the recent packet or something, follow TCP strings. Now you can see that what I am going to try to enter, everything here it is repeating, right? So this is the one of the greatest drawback with the Telnet remote authentication. So how do I make this, right? So even though if they somehow they can access the terminal or whatever it may be the line, now they can't able to read this. Suppose if it is in encrypted format, they can't to access, right? They can't able to know what is this password, right? So for that we need to use the secure shell authentication method, right? So in the next class we will use the secure shell authentication method. Even though if they somehow capture the packets, then they can't able to read what is the password, right? So now what is happening, the moment if you know that this password is Cisco, directly anyone can communicate with this switch, right? So whatever the configuration they want, they can change it, right? Whatever the information they want, they can read it, right? So this is how the telnet authentication method is not advisable in real time, right? Because the information which is passing is the plain text, right? So in the next class we will try to see the how to implement the remote connection using the secure shell method. Thank you.